It's 10:30 a.m. We are marinating silken tofu for Toad in the Hole. This is one of the first projects that we start during our morning prep time.
Toad in the Hole was inspired by my favorite breakfast growing up. Honestly, you know what? I hate tofu and I wanted to make it taste good, and that was my goal.
This gets pressed overnight. It's getting wrapped in cheesecloth, and there's a marinade that has 2 types of miso. The marinating is just getting all that savory flavor into the tofu.
So this is the entire prep space that we have to work with. This is actually where our guests sit. And so we'll take all of the mats off the bars and make this the most intimate, sexy rooms that you can put yourself in DC.
These are going to marinate in the walk-in. Later, we'll pull them out, take off the excess marinade, and then they get cut.
This is our hotline. This is our hotline chef. Chef Christian's been with us for a very long time.
Here's our honey maple air. It's a mixture of honey and maple syrup that we get from Pennsylvania. So equal parts honey and maple syrup. I mean, working here is comprised of many tiny little things I have to do every day. And just making sure that you're always ahead of your own schedule, because otherwise you're gonna fall behind really quick with 20, 30, 40 tasks that you gotta do every day.
In service, that gets dusted in potato starch and then seared really quickly, and then bruleed with sugar.
So this is Toad in the Hole, or eggs in a basket. It's inspired by your favorite breakfast dish, because who doesn't want breakfast for dinner? You have a miso tofu with some maple honey air cascading along the side, a jadori egg yolk cooked in clarified butter, and more crystal caviar. So we suggest you pop that egg yolk and enjoy alongside the other ingredients.
As chefs, you don't get to see people enjoy your food a lot. So you put all that work in for 12 or 14 hours a day and you don't see the end result and the reward. And we get to see it every single night with every course. It makes it worth it. It's the reward for all the hard work almost. You get to see what the end result is and what the reactions are, and watching people get their minds blown every night is super fun.
We are breaking down monkfish. We get this from Japan. Basically, they're pulling the skin off, taking off all of the unsavory parts. They're gonna break it down into kind of like a fillet.
Monkfish is the biggest butcher project we have right now, for sure.
This is one of the projects that we like to get done before the PM prep team gets here. In 5 hours, all these mats will come off, everything will get cleaned. There'll be a complete transformation. It'll look totally different, and the guests will actually be dining at this counter. We do a lot of communal projects. It's just more efficient that way to have at least 3 people working at once.
You're trying to get as little membrane, as little veins, because it all shows up in the final product. So you want a pristine white piece of fish, and the closer we get to that, the better.
This looks like a lot of fish right now for only 12 guests, but it'll just continue to get smaller portion-wise.
They get cured every morning. We'll bath them to service. So this is the mushroom leaf that's gonna go on top of the monkfish. We cut it into these leaf shapes and then fry it into the leaf shape. I would go crazy if I didn't actively prep or be in service. It's not the kind of chef I am. We'll temper them right before service, and then we make a bermonte and get really, really nice and tender. And then they'll come out, rest, and be portioned, and then we'll finish the plating on the bars.
This is Claudia. She's our morning lead prep cook. She is frying our corn butterflies. So this is one of the opening dishes. It's actually a cracker batter, but we're using this rosette mold, which is in the shape of a butterfly. The batter, we actually make our own freeze-dried corn. The timing is really hard because you actually have to set it in the batter, and then it goes in the first pot of oil, and then you fry it again and you have to shape it. And the 2 different temperatures help with making it crispy and shaping it.
This is the puree that goes under the butterfly that you saw earlier. Just gonna keep this here until we get it nicely grilled, and then I'm gonna cut it, and then we're gonna blend it with some cream for the corn puree. And then strain that into pipe bags and cool down.
You start taking a cocktail, distract you. We'll have walk the butterfly, they're already ready and they're on the flour. And then you get this beautiful yellow butterfly, and then you're told that it's completely made of corn. And you're just looking at it and you're like, wow, how? This is the rest of Minibar. Through here is Bar Mini, our cocktail lab. It's basically Minibar except with cocktails. And then right down this hallway, it's like 20 feet of hallway. We have an oven, an ice machine, a little bit of prep area. That is Minibar, other than what you see out in the show kitchen, which is why we do all of our prep out there.
We have our A4 wagyu that we're going to thin slice for our aburi dish. We get these fresh every couple of days, sliced fresh every day. This is one of our bigger dishes. This is part of the main protein course. This goes along with the monkfish.
And he's trimming the excess fat off of the sides, which we will save and render down. What he's doing right now is he's scoring the meat. So he's not going all the way down, and he's gonna do that all the way across, and he's gonna do it the other way all the way across. What this allows is when you're cooking it and you're searing it, it's basically allows all of the fat to start melting. It gets all the way through, it melts in your mouth essentially. The concept of this dish started out with a take on shabu shabu. We serve it with a sphere of beef consomme.
We make our own beef consomme from beef cheeks. Right now she's using a spoon to drop it in algin bath, and this creates a reaction so that there's a skin that forms on the outside of the sphere, but the inside is still liquid. And the other two containers are just water to rinse the sphere off before it goes back into beef stock to be held for service.
You get that nice caramelization on the A4, super nicely seasoned, super simple. The beef consomme is very, very clean. We add the Minibar twist to it by spearing it and making it look like an egg yolk. People love it so much, and A4 is beautiful, so why not? It's just super tasty. It's noon. PM service team is getting here, so now we have all of our team here, AM and PM. The kitchen gets very crowded and busy, noisy.
All right, so this is the first step of one of our more well-known desserts, the strawberry milk. Starts out with some acetate sheets and strawberry tuile base that will be spreading very, very thin on the acetate. Gets made the day before so that there aren't a ton of air bubbles in it. The biggest thing is making sure it's thin enough to get nice and crispy in the dehydrator, but not too thin that it's too fragile to work with. One of my bosses was like, you know, they make machines that can do that. And I was like, yeah, but this is way more fun. And then from there, we'll pick them up one by one. It's very important you don't hit any of those edges so you get those nice crisp corners. So yeah, these will sit out overnight to dry, and then they will go into the dehydrator for about 48 hours. And then at that point, they'll be ready to shape. You know, when you're working in a closed kitchen, you can do stuff a little bit faster. This, it's the show of it to be in front of the guests.
So you basically have ice cream in a piping bag, and we're piping it into that fragile glass tube, and then hoping to God that it doesn't break. A Minibar dish has to be whimsical. It needs to challenge your senses in some way, and it needs to taste good. Our prep should be theoretically done for service. Let's go, 2:45. So right before family meal, the 15 minutes before, the entire kitchen stops our prep. This whole kitchen is gonna get deep cleaned really quickly.
We get ready to set up for family meal. Everyone sits down and eats.
So we just wrapped up family meal and lineup, and this is our last communal project for the day, just picking the herbs. The chrysanthemum is actually for the wagyu aburi dish, and that's the one that has the most herbs. 3 chrysanthemum leaves, 7 Thai basil leaves, 5 small pieces of mint, calendula flowers, and also plum sorrel. So that's only for one person. It's almost like 20 pieces of flowers and herbs for one dish.
So Christian here is making our sheets of taco shells. This is puree that's been spread and dehydrated. And then what he's doing is dropping it into the oil so it becomes malleable, and then just shaping it while it's still hot. These will get stored in the dehydrator and then use them for service. And we're just doing like final checks, touch-ups, and details. We're 15 minutes from doors. Make sure I taste those truffles. Make sure you test these. How are you doing, chef?
Good chef.
Amazing. Christian, how are you doing? How many extra did you fry?
I have 2 extras.
How did they come out?
I haven't fried it yet.
Is there only one batch? Try to find the thinner ones. The thicker ones are probably what's giving you problems.
Our taco shells are finicky and our dehy is finicky, so sometimes by service, they're not perfect. So I decided to pick a few of them out, just fry some more right before service. That's how it goes. And I already got my calluses back from this morning, so they're not as hot as they were this morning.
I do think of Minibar as a theater. So curtains open at 5 p.m. That's what we say, curtains at 5. Because once curtains are open, we're zoo animals and the guests are watching our every move and can hear every single thing we say.
Favorite part of my prep day is cutting these seafoods that we use at command, and they don't fit in the command drawer, so we have to cut them in half. And I spend a lot of time making sure that they are perfectly in half. Chef Julia's preparing right now is a play on a frozen and hot donut. It is first frozen and then fried to make like an outer shell, almost like in a batter, and then set in the freezer again.
So the last thing, we're opening doors, and so the last thing we do is batch out the cocktail really quickly, get it all set. We're all ready to intake guests and start the show. Chefs, opening curtains.
Good evening, and welcome to Minibar by José Andrés. Chefs are going to be plating directly in front of you. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Chefs, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
It's very interactive, so the whole time we're talking to you, the whole time we're plating in front of you, once it starts, there's no breaks. It just really comes down to the communal dining experience. Everybody kind of takes the ride together.
Slicing monkfish. Come get it, please.
This is monkfish and mushroom. It's a butter poached monkfish. You have a nasturtium jelly disc to top it off, and you have some mushroom tea. We suggest you crack into those mushroom leaves, incorporating that mushroom and that broth. And do not be afraid to pick up your bowl to enjoy all that mushroom tea at the end.
I'm gonna start the charcoal right now. Fire taco.
What we're doing here at Minibar is showing chefs techniques that they've never seen before and that they're not comfortable with. We have a saying, it's a 2-month rule. When you start, it's gonna take 2 months, no matter how good you are, where you came from, for it to click, because it's such a different kind of kitchen and it's such a different kind of standard. That first 2 months is very challenging and it tends to beat down on people's egos. So we say if you get through the 2 months, you're gonna make it. It's gonna click, and all of a sudden you're gonna look back at where you were 3 months ago and be like, I am a much better chef than I was, if you make it. If you don't make that 2-month rule, then you let it get the best of you. You let the constant critique, the constant push for excellence, the constant that's not good enough. What we do here is we make you feel uncomfortable and then we push you. And there's that special period in that evolution that you become better. And it pushes you to do things that you've never thought you could do. That is what's so special if you get past that 2-month rule, is that evolution.
This is wagyu aburi. It is A4 wagyu that's been grilled over Japanese white oak. Beside that, you may think it's an egg yolk, but in fact, it's a beef consommé sphere. So we suggest you pop that beef consommé sphere and drag your meat alongside, enjoying alongside those herbs.
Everybody is here to get better and do the best that they can, and they're at the peak of their career and they want to be pushed to be better. And so that kind of environment is intoxicating. It's very rare to find that, where every single person is on the same mental drive, just like everybody else, just wants the best, be better than you were the day before. That's an intoxicating atmosphere to be in.